Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
What's up, everybody? It is that time again. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. A lot to get to today. We're going to have some fun. Glad you could join us. Another rainy, snowy Thursday. People freak out when there's like a few snowflakes on the ground, but it's amazing to me. They've canceled school in Clark County. I just don't get it. Maybe it's just because I'm an East Coast guy. People don't know how to drive. God forbid there's like a half an inch of snow on the ground. By the way, it didn't even stick. I really don't understand it. But anyway, we don't need to talk about Vegas weather for 2 hours.
It is snowing outside our window right now. And it actually looks like Midwestern snow, sort of.
Good. I got a free car wash.
But again, I doubt it sticks.
No, it doesn't stick. Unless you're at Mount Charleston. That's a disaster on Mount Charleston.
But it's cool to look out there and see those mountains covered in snow.
Yeah, it's pretty to look at.
It kind of looks like Colorado.
It is kind of nice to look at, but it's not nice looking at some of these idiots that are on the roadways. Anyway, we got a lot to get to today. Coming up in hour number 2, Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports will be joining us. And hour number 2 as well, Johnny Katz from the Review Journal. We got a lot to get to this hour as well. You heard about this ISIS wife that is begging to come back to the U.S. Yeah, I have some strong opinions on that, that's for sure. Roger Stone is just a complete imbecile, and he's going to land himself in jail if he doesn't behave. We'll get to that. But we got to start with Jussie Smollett because my eyes were glued to the television sets, as many were today, as he walked out of the courtroom. As you know, he was arrested for staging I'm not even going to say allegedly. Give me a break. The prosecutors have text messages and all the evidence in the world that this guy staged this thing. I'm going to tell you something. If you want to put him on world's dumbest criminals, he would win. Let me tell you why. As we got more details into this Smollett situation, this guy is so stupid that he actually wrote a check to these two people that staged this crime. He wrote a check. There's a paper trail. There's text messages. It started days before the attack. He texts this guy, Abel Osundaro, who supposedly is his friend, who's been on the same show that he's been on, which I've never seen, by the way. He texts him and he goes, I might need your help on the low. And then he goes into detail about what he needs, pays him and his friend $3,500, not cash, but actually writes a check. And, of course, these two guys have cooperated with police because they have a deal with police where they're probably not going to get prosecuted. They spill the beans on Smollett. And there's still people in the media that are saying, well, let's wait and see how this plays out. What do you mean, let's wait and see how this plays out? Did you hear what the Chicago police said today about this guy? They said the guy that's in charge of Chicago police said how pissed off he was at this and all the money and resources that went into this. Here's what I'm afraid about this whole thing, JD. We recall when Tiger Woods made his apology for different circumstances, but it was not a heartfelt apology. I'm going to make a prediction. I believe Jussie Smollett is probably not going to get any jail time because he's got money. He's going to pay for restitution, all this stuff. He's probably going to pay to the Chicago Police Department and everyone else. It's going to be a huge fine. He's probably going to go on probation because he has money. If he didn't have money, he'd be going to jail. And this is what I think is going to happen. He's going to have this huge public apology. It's going to be a whole affair. It's going to be on national television. But I don't think he actually is going to really own up to it because he did this for himself. He didn't do this for African Americans. He didn't do it for the gay community, even though I think he's going to claim that. I think he's going to claim that, his brothers, his victims, that's what he's going to do. But as the prosecutor said today, and even the judge, and many people following this case, he did it for himself. Why? Because he wanted more money on Empire. He wanted to raise his value and his career, which, by the way, is now going to go down the toilet. I'll get to that in a second. But I guarantee you this is going to happen. It's so predictable. He's going to apologize, and he's going to say he didn't do this for himself. He did it for African Americans that are suppressed, and he did it for homosexuals. I'm telling you, I can predict the future. That's exactly what's going to happen here. And it is nonsense because he is a lying scumbag. And I do have to give you credit, JD, because on I believe it was Monday where you said that there's a terrorism aspect to this, and you're absolutely right. Because the powdery substance they found was aspirin, and he mailed it to himself. So he started this. He mailed it to the studios, and that didn't work.
Okay, let me ask, what if this was Tim Allen that did this?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
What if it was?
I don't know. I think it's career suicide. I think we all can admit that, right?
I think Tim Allen would do time. I think Jussie Smollett is going to, or Jussie's name is Jussie Smollett, is going to do time. Had this thing actually been true and had it caught on in the media, it would have created an absolute race war, especially in the city of Chicago, which is very, very segregated as it is.
Well, certainly he's done a huge, I don't know. You asked me, I really don't know, but certainly he's done a huge disservice to African Americans and homosexuals. And by the way, stop it with the fact that it's not, we all know that there are issues, but this is a different circumstance.
I predicted Jussie Smollett will do at a minimum 3 years behind bars. And he damn well should.
Well, there is another aspect to this, too. Because they went into his phone and text messages, they found out that he was illegally getting the drug ecstasy. So that's another charge. See, but here's why I disagree with you. I think they're going to put up some sort of plea deal. By the way, he's still denying this. Reports are saying that he's still denying it. They have his text messages. They read it in court today in front of his family. How could you deny this?
And the craziest part is, he was a big, big character. Actually, I started watching the show 3 days ago. It's a good show, by the way. It's a solid show. It's very, very left leaning, but it's a very, very entertaining show, and it kind of it shows the entertainment business from a different angle. He plays like probably the number 3 character in the entire show. He was making $70,000 an episode. It's not like he wasn't making any money. Now, granted, Terrence Howard and Taraji Henson were making $250K an episode.
Because they're better actors.
Of course, he's not a good actor at all.
No.
It's great.
I tell you what, he was a pretty good actor in that interview, though. The other day, he cried. It's a good acting job there. He got some tears going there with was it Robin Roberts?
But it looks like the Chicago police office is legitimately pissed off at this guy.
Well, that's what he said in the press conference today. Those are the words he used. We are pissed off. Because it takes away from the real crime and the real issues and the gun violence in Chicago and the police chief.
How many shootings are there a week? 30?
Oh, it's terrible.
I think there was almost 1,200 murders just last year alone in Chicago.
It's absolutely horrible. But
and then you've got Ocasio-Cortez, who says crazy things like it was a modern day lynching. You had a couple of left-leaning journalists and media persons, people like her have made statements like that.
There's one person that made that kind of statement.
She made a very, very aggressive statement like that as well.
I don't have a problem with that, and here's why. You have to assume, and instead stop it with the details. Well, I knew from the get-go this was fake. Okay, maybe you did. Maybe you're a genius out there if you did. The bottom line is when somebody says they were a victim of a crime like this, I tend to believe them. I didn't have all the details. That's why I didn't talk about it.
It didn't add up. The circumstances didn't really add up. It was like minus 27 that day in Chicago. It was outside of a recording studio.
I get it. I get what you're saying. I understand that, but I'm not going to blame Democrats or anyone. Donald Trump did the same thing. Did you know that Donald Trump was asked about this? And he said it's horrible. It doesn't get worse than this. That is what Donald Trump said. So Donald Trump believed it and took his side as well. There's one person we need to blame here, and that is this stupid bastard. Okay, that's what he is, Jussie Smollett. He is a stupid, ignorant piece of garbage, and I hope he never acts again because this is a serious situation. It is. But here's my problem. Here's something else that I want to ask our listeners, and I'll ask you too, and I'll open up the phone lines here in a second. He actually went to work today after this. He posted bail at $100,000, and Empire, he was on the set of Empire working. Now, I understand there's a lot of money involved. You got scripts and all that other stuff. I get that. Well, but after all the information that came out today, how can you allow this guy to work?
They already have a script written, obviously. We're probably filming season 5 or season 6, and I'm sure in his contract he has something that states that he cannot be fired unless he is accused or
what does he have to do? Rape somebody?
Formally charged with the crime, something along those lines, which he has not been formally charged yet. Correct?
Well, yes, he has been charged.
He has been formally charged.
Absolutely, yeah. He had to post $100,000 bail.
Then it makes zero sense why he's on the set of that show.
Absolutely,
I totally agree with that.
I mean, he's not guilty yet, and people can say, well, innocent until proven guilty. Stop it with that nonsense. We have more evidence than the O.J. Simpson case times 10.
But that being said, he is a very, very integral part of that show.
I don't care. I don't care how big of a part he played in that show. The fact that Empire allowed him to work today, to me, is disgusting. Now, eventually, they're going to fire him. I can tell you right now that's going to happen. What do you guys think of that out there? Are you okay with the fact that Jussie Smollett, are you okay with that? The fact that he was on set of Empire today. Are you okay with the fact that he was working today? And what do you think should happen to Jussie Smollett? We have a lot of new information that came out today, a wealth of information from the prosecutors on a timeline of what exactly happened here. It really is unbelievably disgusting. What do you guys think of that out there? I'm going to give out the phone number. I want to hear from you guys. This is it. This is a big story. And it's really interesting to find out or to see what's going to happen here. The number to call is 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the program, 257-5396. Now, there's two different ways here that the defense is going to handle this, in my opinion. Either they're going to just deny everything, deny the obvious, and say that people are going after him because of the color of his skin or because he's gay, or they're going to have a quick plea deal here, some sort of deal. That's what I think is going to happen here. I think it is going to be very, very quick. It's exactly what I think. Something is going to happen quick here where I would actually be surprised if he went to jail. And if he does go to jail, I think it's going to be for a very short period of time. Let's put it that way. A very short period of time. I don't see this guy getting any serious jail time because he has money. I think he's going to have to pay a big fine. I think that's obvious. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here over the course of the next few weeks. I think his defense, they are going to want to get rid of this as fast as possible. I think the best thing Smollett could do, and by the way, I don't think he's going to do this, the best thing he can do right now is to face the music, speak from the heart, truly apologize, and say, I don't know what I was thinking. I was selfish. Say I in everything. Don't talk about being an African American. Don't talk about being a homosexual because you have done a disservice to all of them. Don't talk about that. Apologize for what you did and admit that you are wrong, 100% in the wrong, and take your medicine, and then maybe years down the road, maybe you'll get another opportunity, maybe. But don't you give me this crap that you did this for the African community because of everything that's happened to you in your life and your brothers and homosexual. No, because they don't want to hear that from you because you are a liar. We'll take a few calls on this one. Let's start with JD. JD, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Doing great, but getting better.
What's on your mind?
First of all, thanks for that information about he's on the set. What did they do to what was her name, Roseanne Barr, for making a midnight tweet about Valerie Jarrett? They fired her on the spot.
Exactly.
This guy's going to go back to work, right?
Yeah.
What if Roseanne had done something like this? She'd probably be in prison for the rest of her life.
I think already on The View today, they are already promulgating the theory that he's not on balance and he's not going to get. They don't think he should get any time. He should go to rehab because there's something mentally wrong.
Yeah,
with
well, that's nonsense. That's the
defense that they're.
First of all, that's nonsense to me. First of all, you got that powdery substance thing that he faked himself. To me, that is a more serious crime than anything else he did. That's number one. Okay. Number two, you've now that he's got himself in this mess, nobody would have known this if not for this. He's doing ecstasy illegally. Okay, nobody would have known that if not for this case. So he screwed himself there. So I mean,
he on a different subject because in my world he's not that important. I thought you might like to know this. 2 points about our presidents. I think you'd all agree Theodore Roosevelt was a pretty good president. We had a pretty good view of his reputation. He's up there on Mount Rushmore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Do you know what he did? And I don't expect you to do because I didn't know until yesterday.
Well, I mean,
in 1907, he signed an immigration act that excluded idiots, imbeciles, feeble-minded persons, epileptics, and insane persons from being admitted to the United States.
JD, we're gonna have to hold up on this subject, my friend, because I really don't want to go into. With all due respect, I really don't want to go into immigration right now. We're talking about the Jussie Smollett case.
JD.
JD, we will get into that second segment. Okay, I'm sorry, I got to get to some other callers, JD. We can't change subjects here. I'm sorry. 257-5396.
Good try though, JD. Good try.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Steven. Steven, thanks for calling in.
What's up, Steve?
What's going on, gentlemen?
Not much. What's on your mind?
Hey, so I talked to my brother is a gay man married to a police officer. They've got a gorgeous son. And this afternoon, I was talking to him, and I asked him what he thought, and he is outraged. This does worse for the homosexual community than anything else. because now any time that something like this happens again, when it's actually true, it's going to be looked at differently than what it would have if this was true. I mean,
Number one, I hope that's not true. And number two, if somebody thinks that way because of this, then they're not very smart.
But I could see the boy who cried wolf effect kind of coming from this.
I mean, I don't know. I've heard that on a lot of the networks, and I've heard a lot of the pundits talking about this. I hope that's not the case. But like I said, if there are people out there that are not going to believe a true victim because of this moron, Jussie Smollett, then they're a moron themselves. That's how I feel about that.
Well, and then on your next point is Fox News should be ashamed of themselves for having that idiot on set.
Who's that? Who are you talking about?
Jussie Smollett.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're talking about Empire.
That's where Empire is.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They should be ashamed.
I agree.
The second this came out that he was behind this, they should have tragic accident, killed him off, and he was done. I don't care how much money they put into writing a script and paying him. He should have been done.
I agree. And you know what? JD makes a very good point himself. Of course, my co-host JD makes good points, but I'm talking about the caller. JD makes a good point about Roseanne Barr.
Points.
Yeah, Roseanne Barr was fired immediately.
Well, that's why I asked about Tim Allen.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened, but all I know is that this guy.
Tim Allen wouldn't have done it because he's a conservative. He's
That's
smart.
true. That's true. That's true. Well, Stephen, I appreciate your call. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Stephen.
We are all in agreement here. I do not believe that he should have been allowed to have been on set. I thought it was completely ridiculous. I don't know what's going to happen to this guy. What I do know he's done, you're right, though, he has done a huge disservice to Chicago, to any African American that's been a victim of a hate crime or a homosexual. There's no doubt about it. But again, I go back to what I said earlier. I believe that when he apologizes, and he is going to eventually apologize because he pretty much committed career suicide, when he does apologize, he's probably not going to take full responsibility. I'd be shocked if he did. And he's probably going to talk about, homosexuality and him being an African American. And I really truly believe he's going to use that as an excuse. Because at this point, from what I've heard based on reports, he's still denying this stuff. The evidence is overwhelming, and he's still denying it. They read some of his text messages in court.
Well, he's clearly delusional. At a minimum. He's also probably, he has to be a sociopath.
He's just an idiot.
Probably a psychopath.
What a moron. Did he not think that they would show the text messages? Did they not think that there would be a trail? That police, and by the way, this is how dumb the guy is. They staged this in front of what he thought was a camera, and the camera wasn't even on him. It was on a different part of the street. This guy's got to be one of the dumbest criminals in the history of this country. How ignorant this guy. He probably actually sadly could have pulled this off if he had any brains at all. But then again, if you have any brains, you wouldn't have done this to begin with. The number to call, 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Ellie. Ellie, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
What's up, Ellie?
Hi, thanks for having me. This is what I would do if I'm representing him, because these stars do this stuff all the time. If I'm advising him,
wait, do they? The stars do this all the time?
Oh yes, please.
In
They're
what
all
other?
Nuts.
Well, a lot of them are nutty, but I can't recall the last celebrity that did
this particular thing, because
right.
Okay, yeah, this is a bit over the top, Ellie.
Okay. Crazy things. So all he has to do, check himself into one of these facilities and just say, I was so depressed. Come up with a lot of stuff, things that are wrong, and get a little medication, get some stuff. This is a forgiving society. People have done a lot of things. He didn't kill anybody. So he's stupid, though. This is dumb. However, you have to be mentally unstable to even do something like this when you're making a decent living, and you just pull off some crazy thing.
Let me ask you this, Ellie. Say he had pulled this off and he hadn't gotten caught, and 5 other crimes just like this had happened to Trump supporters. What would you think then?
Well, since he got caught, who knows what he has done? Looks like he's done stuff before. So that's why I think he has issues, because he's done other things.
Well, of course he has issues. I certainly agree with you. Anyone who does this is a complete idiot. I agree with you.
Why not just cop a plea, get some help, and say, I'm sorry, and I won't do it again? And the set.
Well, here's why I disagree. Here's why I disagree with you. Then what kind of precedents are you setting to everybody else?
None.
You're saying,
You're right.
I mean, you can't tell. Do you know how much money this costs taxpayers? Do you know?
I do.
I mean, here's why I disagree with you a little bit, because is there something wrong with him? Sure. But to me, this was just a pure selfish act. And the reason it was completely selfish.
And not only that, but he sent a letter to himself to justify it in case he did get caught.
He's crazy. That's why.
Well, of course he's out of his mind. But he left. I mean, he had these people actually leave a noose at the scene of the crime.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, look, anyone who
it's
commits
2019.
Anyone who commits a foolish crime might be a little crazy to an extent, but I don't think that should mean we should give him a slap on the wrist and say, "Hey, go
pay the money back."
Well, that's 100%. That's 100%.
And then the set's going to let him back because I've never watched Empire. Now, after all this craziness,
I hope
you know what.
I hope their ratings plummet. I hope nobody watches the show anymore.
No, the ratings are going to go up. I promise you that much.
You're probably right. They probably are.
But he will not be part of the show.
Yeah.
And it's actually a good show.
I think they're going to let him be a part because he started all of this. You know these shows, it's all about money. It's not about...
There's a lot of things that boil down to just money. Ellie, I appreciate the call, and I agree with some of what you're saying. But I think it's, like I said, it sets a very bad precedence if you're going to give this guy a slap on the wrist and then you're just going to say, go to rehab, get some help.
Yeah, she's just saying, well, it's okay because Hollywood people generally are crazy.
I can't think of any. Have you ever thought of any other Hollywood person that did something? I can't think of anything like this before. I mean, this is taking it to another level. This is insanity. And did you see? I'm watching the news today. I'm watching the live coverage of this. I mean, there were tons of media members there, rightfully so. It's a huge story. The guy couldn't even walk in. His family couldn't even walk into their car. It was absent. And all this is going on, by the way, at the same time that Roger Stone is in court. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this coming up next segment. Yeah, that's right. Our friend Roger Stone. Apparently, Donald Trump hires the best people, right? Yeah, the best people. Apparently, Donald Trump's friends they're all great people, right? Michael Cohen, Flynn. I mean, it goes on and on. What about this guy, Roger Stone, who is dumb enough? That's right. He's dumb enough to publish an Instagram post with what appeared to be a crosshairs of a gun drawn behind the judge presiding in his case. You want to talk about stupidity? You could put these two guys together. Between Smollett and Roger Stone, they're both complete idiots. He probably should be in jail right now. When you post something like that, and and guess what his excuse was? Yeah, we'll get to that coming up next. Roger Stone telling us what his excuse was, putting up a picture on his Instagram page of the judge presiding in his case and a crosshairs behind it. Did he not think that this would become national news? Did he not think that he could get into a lot of trouble with this? It goes to show you the intellect and the intelligence of Roger Stone. He might be just as bad as this guy Smollett. It is absolutely and positively unbelievable. We're going to talk about this story when we come back. And then another big story that hit the news today that we've been talking about is this woman who was in ISIS. She's an ISIS wife begging for the return to the U.S. I definitely have some strong opinions about that, too. So we'll take a break. The number to call, 257-5396. If you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-257-5396. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.